were talking about seeing all these parts of you that are not okay, or that you imagine are not okay, and the suffering of that, and being in front of them. And I was wondering, and then you talked about how a different kind of life is a life in which you embody all of these parts. And you're kind of in love with all of them, and you let them be. Or that is my understanding of what you were saying. And I wonder, in your words, how does it look? And how is it different? How does it look to live a life in which you are with all those parts, and you interact with the world, embodying all of you, from a life in which it's mostly concentrated in spirit and not always including those rejected parts of you?
Well, I love your question really a lot. Thank you very much. One little thing about the way you phrased it, I'd like to shift a little bit, which is, I don't live a life in which I'm always doing that. And I don't think anybody does. I think that these residues of hypermasculine self-disowning are there in our culture. They crop up. We need to continually breathe and realize and step through them. It's not like you live permanently beyond any ripple of that, because we live in a world in which that's often taken for granted. It's at least projected onto you, even if you're not doing it yourself. So it doesn't go away. What it's like in another way is sort of like just living with a broken heart. One of the really beautiful things in Sanyal's teaching is he talks about the mystery of the other. And it comes from a deep contemplation, like if I'm sitting here in this awake state, feeling myself as the self of all, the very center and soul of the whole cosmos, and you are too, and I look into your eyes, it's only one, except what it looks like and feels like there is a sealed mystery to me. It is just as God as I, and yet in some sense not visible. And what is it to be with that? That's, he likes to call that a whole realization, other realization. That, and as you begin to really see this divinity and humanity, you're already living with a broken heart. I mean, I feel that in you. It's not like it's news to you, but it's like living in that same broken heart with maybe more arms, more of a feeling for your freedoms in it, adding in, but also even more vulnerability, less buffered, very raw. And sometimes it can be disorientingly, extreme. I don't think that the old models of realization hold water. The perfectly serene one, who is not attached to anything, who is always unruffled because they're so unattached. I mean, some people, it can be a beautiful thing for somebody to have a very cool quality and to kind of float through things in a very accepting way and everything. I'm not like trying to put it down. But does everybody else have to be that way? Give me a break. So I don't think it's certainly about living in the heart of who you really are. What is that heart saying? It's not saying exactly what my heart's saying. Yours is eloquent in a whole different language and a whole different set of nuances. And I think it is living in a broken heart, somehow ecstatic too, though. It really is. So that, and I think that the sense of connectedness, the sense of immunity, of, I'm all right, Jack, I don't know what your problem is. That kind of cutoff that we so often encounter in the world, and even sometimes among pretty, a lot of the spiritual paths really help to create a certain kind of do your own work, and people get into a superior orientation sometimes. I think that this aspect of growth takes us way out of that, into real contact with this mystery of a divinity that has all these flavors and colors. Like, well, looking at all of you guys here right now. We could have an incredible, month-long or more seminar just actually unpeeling the layers of what would be there to blow our minds in one another. There is so much. And to drop out of the arrogance that thinks that's a waste of time. It's really not. And that presence, you've got to be in that wonder at the divinity of being to even begin to be receptive enough to notice. And this level of intimate work is probably the most difficult and threatening.